What have you been up to today, Coop? Pratik and I were already talking for a little bit.
Not too much. I woke up pretty late because I was out pretty late last night.
How late were you out?
Probably got home around 2-ish, a little past 2, maybe 2:30.
We were up till then.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys were still on?
Well,
we were playing speedrunners.
Ooh.
after you went to bed, Pratik, Tall Tom got on.
Yep.
Oh, Tall Tom was on?
We played speedrunners for a little bit, and then he bought Jonah and I Duck Game, and then we played that till 4 a.m.
The Untitled? Wait, what?
Duck Game.
Just
What's Duck Game?
Duck Game.
Is that what it's called, Jonah? It's like you're a duck, and there's randomly generated stages, and the goal is to kill the other ducks, and you like grab guns and you throw stuff. It's pretty dang fun. Tall Tom was terrible at it, but he loved it. He loved it so much that he got it for us.
Oh, man. It's a shame. I missed that guy. I like him.
Yeah, it was a good time in speedrunners. He was not too into that.
I think it's because we got too good yesterday.
Dude, my thumb still hurts from that. Just holding down right.
Yeah.
We got the strats now.
We got the strats, the speed strats. Yeah, we're actually going to pivot this podcast to a speedrunners strats channel.
Exclusive speedrunner strats.
We call this the Invisidrill skip.
Why do you call it Invisidrill if you don't turn invisible?
Huh? No, like invincible. Invisidrill.
You said invis.
You say Invisidrill every time.
Invisidrill.
Invincible.
Invincible. Invisidrill.
No.
Visa. It's the combination of the drill with the C makes an S sound.
I think you're just stupid.
That's called lyrics.
So what time did you end up getting up today then, Coop, if you got up late?
Oh, well, I didn't set up an alarm, so like noon.
Okay, about when I got up.
That's not terrible.
No, that's not too bad at all.
It's pretty bad for me. I don't usually wake up that late.
I do.
Mine do. I raise like I'm like the crypt keeper, or I'm just like, oh. You know the thing when your like mouth's all dry, and it tastes bad in the morning.
That means you're not drinking enough water before you go to bed.
Well, I should start doing that.
Yeah. So
I may have had less water, more alcohol than that.
Well, yeah, exactly. The hot tip is you know how much I was drinking last night.
No, I know.
Oh yeah, you weren't there.
I know, because he said it several times.
I'm sure.
But the hot tip is before you go to bed and you've had, be it one drink or a couple, you just chug a big thing of water, and then that will that will keep you hydrated through the night.
A big thing. What defines big?
Well, how big is this bottle I got here? It doesn't say. I'm gonna guess this is 12 or 18 ounces. I'm not sure.
How big?
Yeah,
I got it.
Just a water bottle size. Chug a water bottle size.
Just pound it back.
Mm-hmm. And that way, you'll wake up completely fine,
refreshed and renewed.
Exactly.
You guys ever wake up at like a really awkward time, like 7? Like that's such an awkward time to wake up because like it's not really a good time to like fall back asleep and then get more sleep.
Oh, you underestimate my ability to fall back asleep.
Are you talking about on the weekend, or are you talking about like
just in general?
Because I have to get
mostly on the weekend.
I get up at 6:20 for work, so I'm not exactly.
Well,
you don't have to do. You choose to do that though.
If I don't keep this schedule, it's not going to last forever, Cooper. I'm going to have to transition.
If I don't sleep the schedule, says the man who stayed up till 4 a.m. last night.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little sleepy, so I'm ready. I'll be ready to go to bed at my normal bedtime tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But Pratik, usually what happens is on the weekends, I'll wake up at 10 and then go back to sleep till noon. If I don't have a hard rule. It's just I'll wake up, I'll gauge how am I feeling. Usually it's still quite tired, so I just go back to sleep.
You run the numbers.
Exactly.
Check the time.
You don't have to have a schedule. If you're tired, sleep.
Well, like for that though, right? You're waking up and then you're having like sort of a lunch type thing, but like 7 is like you're awake, but like it's too early, but you could have breakfast, but then you have so much more time and it's just like, yeah. Because if I fall asleep at 7, I'm definitely not waking up until like 11.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
And then-
am I gonna burn 4 hours?
Yeah.
Nice, refreshing 7 a.m. on a weekend.
Yeah.
That's
That
always
means
nice.
I have to skip breakfast, and I normally like to eat breakfast on the weekends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I never eat
Some nice
breakfast on
toast.
weekends.
You don't make yourself some oatmeal
No.
or have a banana.
I mean, I have a banana, but usually I have a banana with lunch.
Hmm.
I'll have weekends or when I'll allow myself to have a bowl of cereal. Because I buy the
that's your treat.
well, I buy like Lucky Charms or
Oh, so it's
Apple
literally.
Jack. Yeah, because it's not good for you, but it's a nice little nice little treat. Because the rest of the week I have my breakfast burritos that I do, or 1 week I did overnight oats.
Ooh, I love.
But that only
oats.
really works if I'm here, because I can't exactly eat that in the car on the way to work. But the breakfast burrito is perfect for that. So
Okay.
I actually cooked all of them up today, trying to get back in the habit of doing that instead of doing it
Sunday
during
prep
the,
night.
during the week. Yeah, I made some potato salad today
Oh yeah,
too.
because you guys will probably be heading back to actually working in your offices soon, right?
At some point, yeah. Bloomington actually extended the stay-at-home order until May 11th. So,
Oh really?
Mine got extended to May 18th. It'll probably be until the end of May.
yeah. If
Most
I had
likely.
to take a shot in the dark, I'll probably be teleworking for most of this month. I might be asked to go in a couple of times, but it'll still probably be because it's not getting better here.
No, yeah.
There was no slow. It was just very slow growth the entire time. So, and now that everybody's going out and about, like when I went grocery shopping yesterday, there were. I mean, granted, I just started wearing a mask the past 2 weeks when I go out, but prior to that, there weren't many people. The first week I wore, everybody was wearing a mask, and then this week, I would say probably about like 65% of people were wearing a mask. So people are certainly getting a little bit more. I don't feel like doing this anymore. So,
Well, masks are. I mean, they should, because masks are less about. They don't stop the virus from getting in, but they help you from like spreading it outwards.
yeah. Well, if 2 people are wearing it, it certainly helps you from getting it.
Oh yeah, that too.
But we'll see. I might be going up to my grandmother's for Mother's Day.
Keep your distance then.
Yeah, originally I was planning on not going because I didn't trust them whatsoever. I was like, they're not gonna do that. Like, they know it's bad, but they're gonna be like, oh, it'll be okay. And my grandma will be like, oh, you don't have to worry about getting me sick. If you do, I won't be upset. I'm like, well, yeah, but if you happen to die, I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life, and I don't really want to do that. So.
I mean, yeah, that would suck. So maybe keep a little bit of distance.
Yeah, but
maybe no hugs. No kisses on the lips.
Yeah, no. My parents called me again today and were like, they said that they've been, they visited and stayed their distance. So I was like, okay, well, I know how much Easter meant to my grandma, and we didn't have it. So.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Enough of the depressing real life. Let's go into the magical world of our alternative R&B, where the only issue is love unrequited.
All right, let's do the old scene change here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Audio Shop Podcast. This week we are doing, I'm going to let you pronounce this one, Cooper.
Ology by Gallant.
Ology?
Ology. It's like apology, ology. So I guess that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, Well, ology means subject of study,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
That
like a
makes-
study of himself,
Oh,
Okay.
whoa.
basically.
And if you couldn't tell, this week we are joined by Pratik.
Our good friend who suggested this
up?
album.
Mm-hmm. And
What is up, our 2 viewers?
yeah. Well, one. Well, I guess Matt's here as well. I'm watching from another account as well, just to make sure everything's running smoothly.
Gotta bump those numbers.
No, it's to make sure it's running smoothly. But as always, I'm Sam, and that one's Cooper. We stopped doing introductions a while ago. Hopefully, you can tell our voices apart.
I like to think so.
I don't know. You call me Matt all the time.
Well, you're both white, so.
Anyway, so who wants to do the history? Who wrote out the history this week? Was that was that Pratik or was that you, Coop?
Nah, I wrote a pretty brief one because so like I said, Ology is the first album from singer-songwriter Gallant. Gallant, man.
Yeah.
0 for 2. So yeah, Christopher Joseph. Oh, come on, Gallant's like a word. Christopher Joseph Gallant III.
Wow.
So yeah, so this is his debut album, released in April 6th of 2016, with Warner Brother Records. It debuted pretty all right, with 24 on the Billboard Top 200. And it was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Urban Contemporary Album. And it is a kind of an alternative R&B is the general gist that he went for on this album.
Oh, and I wanted to mention, fun fact, Gallant likes anime. And which is great. I did not know that until like a couple days ago.
I kind of suspected since he named a song Miyazaki.
Yeah. And he uses a lot of Japanese spoken word.
Oh, that's what that was.
I couldn't recognize the language. That's what that was.
Like, it's not English.
I thought it might have been French. I couldn't tell.
So we got a weeb artist for I think the first time.
A weeb artist?
I don't know. Miracle Musical definitely seemed like he'd be a weeb.
It had big weeb energy.
It did.
And I'm pretty sure ELO watches a lot of anime.
You mean Jeff Lynne?
Yeah, Jeff Lynne is in his basement.
All right. Do we want to launch on into the first song then?
I say we do.
All right. Track number 1 is First, which is only... Ooh, how long is it? It's like 37 seconds.
Yeah, it's more of like a little intro.
Yeah, it's a little intro. Starts with heavier, lower tones, then gradually leads into lighter like strings and I think some flute in there.
It's almost like the equivalent of like an orchestra warming up.
Yeah,
the vibe I got from
very
it.
Nice little intro bit. I really like when albums have a kind of short piece in the front to introduce and lead into the album.
And I do like it. It pretty much leads smoothly right into the first actual track of the album, which is track number 2, Talking to Myself. And there's actually some pretty good track transitions on this album overall.
Mm-hmm.
They have some good ways of bleeding together.
Yeah, he likes to continue the ending of the previous song to the next song.
Yes, he does it several times on this album.
Which I am always a fan of.
Yeah, I think it adds to the overall cohesiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So jump into track number 2 then, Talking to Myself.
Talking to Myself.
As we said, there's a bit of a bleed over, but I gotta say, this one is very different than the track number 1, Led Me to Believe. It drops all of the orchestral elements out. And just goes to him.
A little bit. It's a little jarring.
Yeah, quite
you
jarring.
don't know what the genre is.
It's like, all right, I'm getting into this, and then suddenly it's all gone. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely very alternative R&B. He's not going for a classic beach like orchestral hip hop mix. Yeah. But still, it's got that strong backing beat, and Gallant's pretty high vocals. He stays in that upper register for a lot of this album.
Mm-hmm. Especially on this song, he stays mostly in his higher register.
Yeah. Getting into this song, I could already tell you that I did not like his singing style at all.
Wow, on the first song.
I really don't like the super high breathy vocals. It just doesn't sound good in my opinion.
I mean, I think it works for the. It goes pretty well with the R&B vibe because you've got like the heavier synth and percussion laying everything down beneath it.
I'm not arguing that it doesn't sound good, but in music, there's only so much you can. Like, this style is hailed as the best style, and sure, but there's still going to be people out there that don't like it. Now, I love, there's a little bit in here when he gets a bit lower, and he sounds amazing. I just kind of wish there was a bit more of that, as opposed to the super high kind of breathiness.
I think staying in the higher register, like a medium to higher register, is just kind of the style of R&B, though. Like most,
especially modern.
Yeah, especially
modern R&B.
Most modern R&B singers try and stay in that higher to middle. It's just the nature of the
genre.
Kind
of like The Weeknd.
Yeah,
that we viewed a little bit ago.
I already liked on track number 2. I already liked him more than The Weeknd. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah. I definitely think this one has a little more. I mean, The Weeknd's album was going for a little more of a throwback vibe, and this one's definitely a much more modern, with wearing its kind of modern influences on its sleeve. I mean, a lot of synth. It's got the kind of the percussion and strings going through it as well.
Yeah.
So the production is pretty lush on a lot of these songs, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I gotta say though, on this one, by the end of it, it builds beautifully. There's a little bit of sax in there. There's some pulsing synth that really goes with the drum kit, but it just doesn't kind of. I would like it to build a bit faster. It was too bare bones at the start for too long. The ending, it sounds great, but we only get the full fleshed out picture for about 30 seconds before the song ends.
I wouldn't call the song bare bones by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm talking about the beginning, Coop, when it's just him and a little bit of drum kit.
Oh, like the first minute of the song?
Yeah, I would like it to build faster.
I mean, it's a 4-minute song. I feel like introducing it about a minute in isn't too big of an ask.
I know, but what I'm saying is it doesn't get to the full built-out song until the last 30 seconds. And then it doesn't give you any time to appreciate it before it moves on to the next track.
That didn't bother me as much just because I feel like it's more of a song progression than just front-loading it with everything and then having nowhere to go.
I understand. I'm not asking for 4 minutes of the end. I'm just asking for maybe not 1 minute of just him singing over a drum track. That's all I'm asking.
I mean, he doesn't do that on a lot of the other songs, but I get where you're coming from.
Just talking about this song in particular.
I personally do not mind that, but...
Yeah. One thing I did like about the song is that, so it's talking to myself is clearly like an inner dialogue with himself, right? Kind of like, and he seems to be losing a grip on like who he is as a person, it seems. Like, that's what I got from the lyrics.
The general, like, he's I kind of got an isolation vibe from that.
Basically. But there was, in the chorus and a couple other areas, he adds a distorted version of his voice underneath his own.
Yeah.
Which is like him and his inner voice speaking at the same time. So I really like that text painting.
Oh, I didn't recognize that. That's a good catch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of like, he adds a little bit of piano, a little piano sampling in the first verse and the second, and I really love that little I want to say progression or chord, something in the back there.
He doesn't use piano too much on this album, but when it does break through, it's usually very noticeable. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Jump into track number 3 then, if you guys are ready.
Yeah, we can go on.
And let me tab into the song track thing. Track number 3, Shotgun.
Shotgun. Why be a sword when you can be a shotgun?
Yeah, so this song is like, he's basically saying, like, he's the shotgun, and he's like trying to say like he's trying to become the best possible person he can be, but like he still feels like he's not enough. So he's like, what's a sword compared to a shotgun?
Wait, so is it the shotgun or the sword?
He's the sword.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
He's talking about like sharpening his blade and all of that stuff.
Okay.
So it's like more isolation, but like he's kind of like down on himself. He's very depressed for the first like half of
Yeah.
this
I
album.
did get that vibe on a lot of them. I just think it's a kind of funny metaphor. Like someone fighting a shotgun with a sword. But particularly on the bridge of the song, around like the 45-second mark, is some good singing from Gallant. I keep wanting to call him Gallant. Like he brings it down a little lower in the register, and dude's got some range.
Yeah, I didn't even I thought this was a different vocalist. It sounds so much better than the high falsetto, but that's just my opinion because apparently it's wrong.
I didn't say you're wrong earlier. I mean, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, I was
Even if I
definitely glad
disagree
to
with
hear. I was definitely glad to hear more of his like middle range because like he stays high for a lot of this album, and I want to hear more of his middle because his middle is so. I love his voice in the middle.
It was like that Panic at the Disco album we listened to where it was all just one range. He never showed it off in this one.
Yeah, no. What was that called again? Rest for the Wicked?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
I will say, I'm trying not to have the complaints are the easiest part to write, so that's what most of mine is. This one, the mic is just a bit too far into his mouth. You can hear the mouth sounds just a bit. They stick out every once in a while.
I did not catch that at all.
Yeah,
personally.
I didn't hear that at all.
You really notice a lot of mouth sounds, Sam.
It's because I've got my headphones on.
I mean, I've got my headphones on when I listen to this too.
Yeah,
but it just they really stick out to me for some reason.
I think what.
Sorry, go ahead.
The thing that stuck out to me the most was like the backing vocals. It's humming and clapping throughout the entire song.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It doesn't go anywhere. It's always just there.
I mean, the clapping didn't bother me as much on this one, just because the production's kind of like. I mean, it's there, but it's kind of farther back, and it's got a lot of things covering it up, like some horns going on, some strings that filling out the sound. So it's not just clapping. That's kind of like the structural weak point of it.
I will say, the first half of this song, the mixing I feel is a bit too heavily weighted in his favor. He sticks out just a little bit too much, which kind of makes some things that he does pop. But then the second half of the song, he kind of gets pulled back into the mix. He's still the forefront, but it feels like a much better mix. Everything's kind of happening in harmony as opposed to, him being a karaoke vocalist over the top of the backing track.
No. I totally get what you're saying. I mean, this album is very focused on his vocals. Even though the instrumentations are usually pretty good underneath. Obviously, this is a very artist first album, which I guess makes sense for a debut album. You gotta put your mark on things.
Yeah, this was made 4 years ago.
Yeah, it came out in 2016. So just about.
So he must have been probably around our age when he created this.
Yeah, he was born in 91. So, yeah, he'd be just about 23. Yeah.
Good thing I'm not that old.
Yeah, good thing we could hit those notes.
I will say, like, he can hit some insane notes.
Yeah.
Dude,
he can.
He's got that upper range. He's not afraid to flaunt it on some of these parts.
But getting back to this song, there was one thing that I really enjoyed. That was I love the little guitar you can hear in the background around 158 to 210. I want to say it moves. It moves from your left ear to your right ear, and I love when instruments can move from one ear to another when that mixing is there.
They kind of dynamically range from there. It just show a little bit of forethought on the mixing, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate when it swaps back and forth and just doesn't play a whole guitar line or a whole vocal line in one ear. Looking at you, Beatles.
Lord, I remember listening to the Beatles once with broken headphones where it's only in the right ear. It's the
Oh.
worst experience ever.
It's not much better with the fixed headphones. You got to listen to it on a speaker system. Jump into track number 4 if you guys are ready.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Bourbon.
Bourbon.
Or Bourbon.
Yeah, it's pronounced Bourbon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was another one. Actually, no, it was not a single. There's only 2 singles off this album.
Mm-hmm.
They went right back into that breathy singing, high singing style again, which I love so much.
Yeah, this one's definitely, he keeps that upper range. Kind of, it's like,
this one's a lot more laid back than the other two, I want to say. I wrote down that it sounds like cruising in the car music.
yeah, it's a little more stripped back. It's got like these soft 808s underneath it. It kind of, it's still lush, but it kind of slows it down just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, this one really stuck out to me. There's just not so much there. I really love listening to the instrumental lines in these songs, but the instrumental line in this is just kind of a vessel for his singing. Well, there are things going on in the background, it's kind of this. Some of them are better at growing than others. Some are very good, some are crap at it. But it's just kind of difficult to hear it all due to how prominent his voice is.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I will say the thing I liked most about the song was probably the backing vocals, because it's very church choir-esque.
Mm-hmm.
You would hear this the humming and all of that repeating of
Like ad-libs almost, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the kind of echoey sound effect, like it's someone kind of far away.
And I think he uses synth to give it more of that wandering, aimless sound, which I really like, because this is a very laid back kind of just I would listen to this walking to class or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a little bit of a change of energy, but I think that's a good way to deliver a couple songs deep into the album.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate the structure there. And it also has a pretty nice breakdown around the 2:45 mark. Where it strips back a little bit more, but then kind of jumps right back into it. So where it's only synth, but I kind of like how whenever songs kind of focus just on the vocals, and he kind of flourishes a bit, and he's got a lot to flourish with this.
Yeah.
Man is not afraid to flex those golden pipes.
I will say the end of the song, I started to get sick of the chorus just a little bit. It repeats one too many times there at the end. But just as I got sick of it, it moves on to the next one. So it wasn't too.
It moves
terrible.
on with I think this is the one where he adds in the Japanese spoken word.
Yep.
Yes.
It's like a phone call, and it's a crossover between this song and the next one, which is. Sorry, Coop, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just wasn't sure if Pratik knew what they were saying in that phone call, or because obviously I don't speak Japanese.
No, I couldn't hear any. I tried to look for lyrics online about the phone call, but I couldn't find anything. It just always says Japanese spoken word.
Maybe we can
it is that.
Translate it.
Huh? He's learning how to read.
Yep, never learned. God bless his soul.
Japanese, not just in general.
Jump into track number 5 then. Bone plus tissue. Or bone and
plus
tissue.
Yeah, this one actually begins even more stripped back than the last song.
Yeah.
Where it's basically just I keep wanting to say Gallant. Gallant. Gallant's voice is just kind of over these very sparse beats with this kind of spacey synth kind of just waving in the background.
Heavy bass beat.
Heavy bass beats. Though by the time you hit to the chorus, it kind of all jumps in together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the verses have very stripped back instrumentals, while the chorus is just super lush and full.
Mm-hmm.
The chorus, I really dig the chorus on this one. Obviously still in that upper register, but he's got these stacked vocals going on, and the synths are just kind of pounding down at this kind of harmony with it. It's some good alternative R&B.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm completely different opinion than this. I think this one is, there's just not really anything here the instrumental line is great for sure, but his vocals, I just feel, there's nothing different between this and any other song you've listened to so far. You could transplant the vocals from any of these and it'd be exactly the same. The only difference going on here is the instrumental lines. Especially at the end there, where I really like that kind of chorus going on in the background, but then he's just moaning over top of it. And I can't, I do not enjoy the song.
I wouldn't call it moaning.
It was moaning.
It wasn't moaning. It's definitely more ad-libbing than like singing, but
can you tell me one, Cooper, you know what? I'll concede if you can tell me one word he said in that whole last 45-minute segment.
45 minutes?
45 seconds. Sorry, 45 seconds.
I'm pretty sure he said the words bone and tissue at several points.
Not the backing track. I'm talking about the him singing.
I think he said the word body at some point.
But that's what I'm talking about. I didn't enjoy it. It just was not an enjoyable experience for me. I love the instrumental, but there's some lip smacking at the start that got to me again.
Boy, where are you hearing this lip smacking?
You need to get some better headphones.
Pratik, did you hear any lip smacking?
I didn't really notice it if there was any.
Cooper, let me ask you this. Did you hear 2-1 clap in any song before we listened to Green Day?
Yeah.
Did you stick with it, though? Do you hear it in your memory?
Hear it in my memory.
You're listening to a song and you're like, oh, there's clapping in this song. You notice that it's there. But now you listen to a song and you're like, it's that freaking 2-1 clap again.
You're saying it just sticks out in your mind?
Once something, it's like flipping a switch. You just notice it.
You've been hypnotized?
I really wish I could notice it. It would make my life so much better with these songs, but I notice it.
Oh, that's a shame. Fortunately, I'm able to not notice it, so. Mm-hmm. And I quite like his vocal delivery.
There are just a couple things I want to note on. So I really like the use of it was almost he used Wheel of Fortune sounds of the wheel spinning.
Oh, was that on
Did
there?
you guys hear that?
I didn't pick up on that.
I didn't either.
He uses it to transition, I think, from the first verse, and then that's the first spin, and then from the chorus to the second verse and bridge, he uses it stopping, which I really liked because it was he uses it to go from very stripped back instrumentals to very lush to very stripped back again.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a very interesting use of a soundbite. And then I'm a sucker for text painting. There's some chorus or there's some lyrics he goes more, and he uses that to bring the backing vocals forward. So it's almost more, and then the backing.
It becomes more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really like that, but I was not a fan of the clapping in the final chorus because clapping just to me is piercing.
Well, there's just the vocals over the clap break. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can all agree that clap breaks are maybe not the best use of anybody's time.
But he's really going at it. During that time.
He's going.
I just wish there was a bit more there as opposed to just him.
Yeah.
Honestly, okay. I'd rather just have vocals without anything rather than vocals with a clap break, if given the choice. But yeah, we can move on to the next track if you guys are ready.
Oh, I'm not in the right text box here. Jump to track number 6 then. Oh Universe.
Oh Universe. This one's I guess a interlude would be a good way to. It's only a minute long.
Nice little break.
It really is the last 30 of the seconds of this song, which I guess is half of it, are this really smooth, kind of smoky, romantic vibe to it with a piano underneath it. Really wish this was a full song.
Yeah,
it's excellent sounding.
I loved it. This is exactly what I was asking for. It's got a great bit of piano with some of his lower range, But just as you're like, oh yeah, I'm really getting into this, then it ends. You're like, oh, it was a minute long.
It's such a tease.
Yeah.
I said it sounds like lounge music you'd hear at a fancy bar.
Oh yeah, it's definitely got
For
that
sure. Yeah.
the lounge feel to it. But I guess they were closing very soon, so we could only squeeze in that 1 minute song. Got to clear everyone out. Yeah, and then it goes directly into track number 7, which is one of the singles of the album, Weight in Gold. And this one to
get
me
right
felt
back
like,
into that falsetto.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely goes back into it, but I feel like this one's a little more of a I got a little more of a throwback vibe on this one.
Yeah.
Not quite as modern R&B, a little more, obviously it's still with the same vocal stylings, but the instrumentation kind of feels a little more guitar based and a little more R&B throwback.
He really likes letting that guitar shine in the verses.
Which obviously I feel like it goes a little bit away from that on the chorus, which I'm not as big on. Like obviously the chorus is grander, but I feel like he should have stuck to his guns on terms of keeping it like a throwback. But I do appreciate it on the verses a lot.
I really like the chorus personally. This was the one that really stuck out to me.
He likes those chords in this chorus though.
Oh, those synth chords.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's blasted them.
I mean, that might have a very significant impact on why I like the chorus. That blasting synth is great.
You like that synth sound?
It doesn't take much.
He also uses a little electronic in the sample. A little electronic in the chorus, which he hasn't really used in the past couple. But he uses it in this track and then a bit later as well.
Yeah, especially the first chorus is just that really heavy, deep bass synth. But every chorus after that kind of adds a twinkling electronic synth over the top of it.
Oh yeah, the almost space agey.
And it tickles my fancy. Granted, I just really like synth, so I think that has something to do with it. I will admit, the chorus does repeat a bit much.
It's a single meant for radio play, so like you have to get the chorus in there.
Yeah.
However, I like the synth so much I don't care. So
honestly, I'm kind of surprised this one's the single over things like Bourbon and Shotgun, because for me they kind of felt more suited for the single than this one. But I guess this one still got the general format for it too.
I think it's meant more because like he does really use his vocals in this song as well. So it's like if you're trying to get a sample of who Gallant is and his music style, this is like the track to show it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So to be fair, think of it in like a business sort of way. Like how would you market this person?
You wouldn't have one where he's up front and center. Though to be fair, it's not like he slouches on any of the other songs with its vocal stylings.
That's true. But I think this is like better for radio play, and it's like something that like more people would like than like just like R&B, because R&B isn't super popular right now.
True. I mean, this one's almost starting to like gear into like more electronic music than R&B, honestly.
That's a stretch. It has some synth elements in it, but it is nowhere near getting into the electronic range. There's a difference between using an electronic instrument and being electronic music.
But it makes space noises, Sam.
That doesn't matter, Cooper. It's
I've listened through time multiple times.
It's the electronic element is used to amplify the R&B elements. It's not electronic music. If it was electronic music, you'd be getting really rough saw wave and square wave noises, much harsher. This is a very smooth album. Electronic tends to be quite harsh.
Maybe it's R&B electronic. A blended genre.
You're getting maybe you might be able to argue that for this track, but for any other track, no.
It's not an electronic album, but maybe I like what Pratik was saying. That makes it a little more radio friendly.
Yeah,
to have those elements in it.
Yeah, maybe. You got it. You have a case. You could make it through court.
Submit my case.
jump into track number 8 if you guys are ready.
Yeah, let's
sure.
do that.
Episode.
Yeah, track number. This one's going back to a little more of the low key vibe.
Yeah, it's got the falsetto, but it's not breathy falsetto, so that's automatically better.
I said it had more of like a funk pop sound to it.
Yeah,
for sure. And it sounded like a Maroon 5 song in the intro, and I just couldn't get that out of my head.
You're not. Now that you say it, I also think that. I think it has to do with that kind of the slight groove with the. They got this kind of slapping guitar behind it. Obviously, the vocal stylings doesn't sound like. What's the guy's name? Adam. I'm completely blanking.
Levine.
Adam Levine, yeah. But yeah, now that I think about the instrumentation, yeah, it's very Maroon 5-esque. Which I think works well enough on this song.
He's also got a Prince-style bass line, too. Like, it sounded very Prince to me.
With the, the bass, the bass specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bass is definitely the most prominent on this song than it has been on any of the other songs so far. I'm not sure if I quite get a Prince vibe from it, but I'm not a native Minnesotian, so.
Yeah, I definitely got the funky bass line. And Pratik, you mentioned liking this earlier, but it's kind of got that bit of guitar bouncing from ear to ear again. Which I felt worked really well in this one particularly. And then it's got some of those more Japanese phone call noises, which I really enjoyed before as well.
Arching like story for that, or is it just kind of like a thematic bridge?
Well, it definitely feels more like a thematic bridge. I don't think elements of the songs are really tying together in any way. Granted, it's difficult to understand what he's saying most of the time.
Yeah, it's certainly not a concept album, but I think it keeps some general themes.
I will say, one thing that stuck out to me in this song that I noticed had been used several times in other songs, I can't remember if you mentioned this earlier, Pratik, when you were talking about his internal monologue, but the main vocal line is echoed in a very deep, distorted voice. And I really dislike that. It kind of takes you out of it for a moment. And I understand they want that deep bass kind of there, but just the distortion on the voice sounds so weird. I don't know, it kind of clashes with the smoothness that the album seems to be going for. I feel like if they just replace that with maybe a bass guitar playing the melodic or the vocal line underneath would be better, but I don't know. Odd stylistic choice that I don't agree with.
Okay.
Because it continues throughout the rest of the album. It's almost in every song, it seems.
So it kind of lowers. I mean, I didn't mind it super much, but I can understand how it kind of clashes with the general identity of the album. Which I think overall is my biggest problem with the album overall is probably that sometimes it lacks a bit of an identity. I mean, obviously it's alternative R&B. It stays within that genre. But at times, I don't think Gallant does as much as he could to like kind of differentiate himself as an upcoming artist, which makes sense. It's his debut album, so it's not like it takes a very rare artist just to come out of the gate swinging hard with like exactly who they are.
Right. And it's even more common for them to evolve as they go, because like Gorillaz, for example, they definitely are not anything like they were when they started.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, is growth.
Yeah.
So then with that, we can go on to track number 9, Miyazaki. One of my anime references. Which is kind of funny, because it's kind of almost over this like lo-fi hip-hop beat.
Yeah, this one definitely had the most...
Which is the first thing I thought. I'm like, wow.
This one, it had a few elements that just made me not able to listen to the rest of this. It kind of like zeroed me in on those few things. There was that really deep cha noise that jumped from ear to ear that was like breathing at the start. Cha. Did you guys pick that up?
Not like, really.
Cha. and it went one ear and then the other. All music stopped, and it did that in one ear and then the other.
I don't remember that. I'm not doubting that it happened. I just don't particularly remember it.
And it stuck. I was like, what was the point? It like broke the flow of the song. It was you don't need somebody. I hate when they blow into the microphone or breathe into the microphone. That's not an enjoyable sound effect. It gives me flashbacks to watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, where for 5 fucking minutes of the movie, it is the main character breathing into your ear as he floats around the space station.
But it's realistic, Sam.
It does. I realize it's realistic, but it sounds bad. You know what else is realistic? Having a bad time when you have diarrhea. Do you want that in a song? No. And this one had a bit too much of that breathy falsetto with mouth sounds again. I don't know. I really wish I couldn't zero in on those mouth sounds, but they pop up too much for me.
It's your cross to bear. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Would you mind taking it for a while, Cooper?
Yeah, no. Oh no, everything I can hear like worms in the ground eating dirt. This is my hell. No, but I dug this song. Like I said, the lo-fi hip hop beat is kind of memey, but the chorus over it's smooth enough that it kind of plays off in kind of this stacked, smoky, dreamy vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the inclusion of like basically a guitar solo, like the minute and a half point, which I thought was an interesting addition. I don't think it was like a particularly great guitar solo, but it was a nice, how do you say, like a nice change of pace, just to throw that in there. Mm-hmm. And plus the song's like 2 minutes long, so
yeah, it's a short one.
Overstay.
It's also got a little. He also does a little scatting at the end, which I really liked.
Oh, that was scatting? I guess suppose so. Sure. Yeah.
But the one thing about this song is that the hi-hat is so piercing compared to the other instrumentals. Like, I could only hear that.
Yeah. I guess it was. I wasn't too disturbed by it, fortunately, but I guess it was pretty ever-present in this song. It didn't bother me, but I guess if you do so know, like the mouth noises, it would kind of drive you insane.
Mixing is an issue in a couple spots on this album, it seems.
Yeah, he's got a couple, but again, I kind of let him slide on that because it's like the debut album.
Yeah.
But at the same,
he also uses some record scratches around the 1 minute mark, which I like. You don't hear that all that often in R&B, I don't think.
I think that's honestly, I think that's just the lo-fi vibe it's going for.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot in those. I've listened to so many of those when I've been studying that it kind of works its way in. But I do appreciate its use.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, Scat makes a big comeback. This is the album, boys.
Scatman's World. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. Jump into track number 10 then. Counting.
Counting.
We got bongos, boys.
We do, right out the gate, too. Which is interesting kind of dichotomy here with added kind of these like glitchy vocals in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very down-to-earth, bongo sound with these like very high-pitched, I don't want to say Vocaloid, but like electronic-esque vocals, obviously pitch-shifted.
I had another rant for this one.
Oh, full lay it on us.
I feel like granted it is his first album, so he's making mistakes and doing things, but he just keeps jumping between my specific pet peeves. Like he'll fix one. There's no mouth sounds in this one, but he has new lyrics, but he sings the same vocal line over and over, which makes it sound very repetitive. And the nature of his songs is already pretty dang repetitive, so it does not help him there. And you could get away with it if the backing track had a bit more there, but there's nothing to latch onto. It is very just kind of like driving through the countryside, and it's just flat all around. It's beautiful, but there's nothing like, oh wow, look at that mountain peak, or ooh, look, there's a nice river over there. It's just like flat desert. And then after about staring at that for 40 minutes, you're like, it'd be nice to see something else. And it just, the backing doesn't make up for the lack of vocal growth in this one, in my opinion, which makes it a lesser song.
I agree with you on this one, Sam. I think there's a couple songs in the back half of this album that are a little, I'm not going to say underbaked. I think it's too harsh, but certainly don't really fulfill any like need that the album hasn't already like encountered so far. Kind of like driving. It's like driving somewhere and then driving back, right? You kind of see the same thing. So I get what you mean there. We just have a couple interesting things like the vocal glitches. This one's going for like a little more dreamy vibe, especially at the very end. Whereas that almost like odd non sequitur into the next song.
The bit of miracle musical disease there at the end.
That's not even like a new section of song. It's like this echoey, like I've been thrown into like a pond in a cave. But to set up the next song nicely. So I guess I'll give him points for that.
I do like his use of electronic sounds throughout the song, though. Just because it's like it's not really there in the previous tracks, so it was a bit refreshing.
Yeah, I just feel like there's this deep into the album, he's not doing as much as he's shown he can do. Like the first track had so much instrumental depth. There was strings, there was piano, there was a lot going on, and then you never really see that again throughout the rest of the album. It's like, well, what made him write that as the first track if it was completely disconnected from everything else that was going to come after it? It just needs a bit more. It's very droney background with, like I said, repeating the same melodic lick over and over. It gets to be a bit much.
I mean, I would go as far as saying it's droney, but I certainly agree that maybe I'm not as impressed with this instrumentation as I've had been on a couple of the other songs.
I don't mean droney so much as flat.
Like samey?
Samey, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't even tell how samey it is because there's nothing to lock onto. You can tell it all sounds pretty much similar, but you can't tell if it's looping.
I can see what you mean on that one.
But that was just, I think it was building to the point of the past couple of songs weren't growing enough for my liking, and that kind of all came to a head with this one. Jump into track 11 if you guys are ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Percogsic.
He says it during the song. I think it's Percogesic.
Percogesic. Okay, we'll go with that.
It's I searched it up. It's a pain reliever.
Okay.
Oh, there's that one hip hop song, Pop and Percocet.
That's Percocets.
Okay, I don't know anything about drugs.
Basically, the whole song is him like he's basically with a crazy person. He's in a relationship with a crazy person,
and he needs medicine to dull the pain. Ooh, okay, I get it. I got you, Christopher III. Yeah, but I did like this one quite a bit. It kind of goes back to that kind of a little smokier feel to it. On the verse,
got a little sultry vibe to it.
Yeah, the verse particularly, I get a big vocally a big Frank Ocean vibe to it as well. I'm not sure if I'm the only one there, but I don't know. That's just the first thing that popped into my mind, and I'm a big fan of his, so that kind of makes me like this song a bit more too. Maybe just the way he stacks the vocals. I like the way the song kind of keeps the lower energy, but also almost a little mysterious.
Yeah, I really liked the drum backing track on this one. I was surprised with how well it flowed with the vocals, and I didn't feel like it needed anything more than that. It really managed to do more with less. But I don't know, just the vocals in this one, they weren't bad, but I feel like it was just kind of there, Oh,
I really like the vocals on this one.
And maybe it's because you associated it with another artist, but for me it was just like, yeah, I mean, it's a good song, but it was nothing to write home about.
Well, just that, like around the 3-minute mark, there's like that aggressive beat switch up, which honestly I figured shouldn't work, but it kind of does. for the last half of the song.
Mm-hmm. The drums going off from
The drums pop off, yeah,
yeah.
before it all kind of drops out for just the vocals and like some light synth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I feel like I'm kind of right with how little you guys have to say about this one, and it's almost a 4-minute song.
There's really not much to it,
Yeah.
I think.
Granted,
It's got a little more of those electronic sounds, so he uses a bit more electronic in the back half of this album than the front half.
Yeah, kind of as you go into it, it kind of brings out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And goes into our next track, if you guys are ready.
Track number 12, Jupiter.
Jupiter. What is this? Orchestral music?
Ha ha ha.
That's a little... No. Yeah, Jupiter.
I really love the instrumental line on this one. It starts with, the way it starts, you're like, oh, this is going to be good. It's got great build, it has great payoff, and probably one of the better fade outs, not necessarily fade out, but like backing away to make room for the next song. But again, I just keep he sounds great. He sings well, but just the last half of this song, he kind of just has the same vocal line over and over again for the last half. And I feel like that takes away from all the work that the instrumental line is trying to do.
I think the whole purpose of this album is just to show off his like higher range.
Oh, he does that. He does that plenty. I'm thoroughly impressed with that man.
But I really like the guitar line during the outro, though.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite uses of guitar on this album.
Mm-hmm.
He also uses a little bit of birdsong, and I think...
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, at the very beginning. I'm surprised you usually get those, Sam.
Yeah, usually those jump right out to me. But
it's right in the beginning, and it's like pretty unique for an R&B artist to use birdsong, I think. Yeah, I haven't heard any R&B songs that use it, so...
I just think more people need to start using random noises in general.
Bleeps and bloops.
Mm-hmm. And birdsong and rain and thunder.
If only they made an entire song of just random metallic noises.
Okay, that's
like balls bouncing off a metal.
There is a time and a place.
Yeah, no. For me, this one, I didn't have too much to say about this song. I don't know why it didn't hook me too much, but for me, nothing stood out too well. Obviously, the man pops off a bit in the last bit.
Mm-hmm.
It has a decent build-up, but for me, the instrumentation didn't do anything too special. And I don't think Gallant's performance was... I mean, it was pretty run-of-the-mill so far in the album.
Yeah, and it feels bad to say that, but it's like, you don't want to be like, hey, you need to, you're getting later in your album, you need to start juggling, and this next song, you can't, sure, you can use some of the things from the other, but now you got to do a handstand, You don't have to shake it up that much, just a little bit. When it gets so samey, when was the last time we had a lower vocal range song? It's been probably about 6 or 7 songs. Maybe throw some of that back in, break it up a little bit. Maybe, throw in some of the strings that you showed in the beginning, throw in some piano, anything. And it especially makes me upset because we'll get to it in a bit, where he does all that and it's like, wow, this is amazing. And then he just goes back to the same old right after. So
anyway. Yeah, it's definitely his comfort zone.
Yeah.
But like I said, obviously this is his debut album, so kind of front loading with that isn't too bad, but sorry, Pratik.
I will say that so this is actually an extended version of a song he had on his Zebra EP.
Oh,
so
okay.
He originally he released an EP in 2014, I think. And this was like he basically took the song and just added, I think, like the last like minute or like the outro, basically like that climax that he does. So if you were to cut off the climax, that would be the rest of the song on that EP.
Oh, okay, that's kind of
Okay.
interesting.
So
Kinda
that kind of makes
workshopped it
sense to
into
why it's feeling so samey, because that's his style. This was one of the first
Mhm.
ones he wrote.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. I'm kind of surprised he did that or felt the need to like kind of reuse a song. I mean, the album obviously isn't like too short. Um,
Certainly
so
wouldn't hurt cutting off the song, but I mean,
yeah, I guess he felt he could improve upon it.
yeah.
I don't think it may have been worth it, but that's an interesting way to approach it.
Jump into track number 13 if you guys are ready.
Yes, we can.
Mhm.
Track number
Open up.
13. Open up. This one may be, in terms of the verse at least, probably the most sparse on the album.
Mhm.
Where it's like
Yeah.
got this very light backing beat, kind of these smooth electronic chords underneath it.
Don't forget at the very beginning he uses breathing as a backing track for breathy vocals. Very bold move.
So there's actually so from what I understand about the song, it seems like he's talking about a relationship where they had like more of a physical relationship, but he wants more.
He wants her to
So
open
it,
up.
it may be kind of like that, like trying to mimic kind of like that idea of a physical relationship.
Like okay, I get that.
And this will sound much harsher than I want it to, but I mean, you can smear shit on a canvas and call it art, but that doesn't make it art.
You're right. That does sound very harsh.
That's just the first example that popped into my head. I'm not saying it's that bad, but I really, breathing is not a noise. What is a universal hate that most people have is somebody coming up behind you and breathing down their neck. That's got such a negative connotation. Breathing in your ear is even worse. I dislike it when it's used in that way.
I don't think breathing's. I mean, it's been used in music for a long time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
meant
uncommon.
to simulate more.
Slavery was around for a long
than-
time too. Was that good then, Coop?
You really do not like breathing and mouth noises. Jeez
really
Louise.
do not.
I mean, normally breathing is used to be like as a sign of intimacy. I think in most songs,
Which makes sense for obviously the thing Pratik was talking about of like physical intimacy. Obviously, it really bothers you. I'm not sure it's as universally hated as you think, because honestly, it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want a whole song of just breathing in my ear, but when it's like kind of used as an element like that, I don't mind it.
I think I could give it more of a pass if he wasn't doing his breathy vocals at the same time. I just think there's too much air coming out of their mouths. I think it needs to have. It's like you're falling through a cloud. There needs to be something solid.
Mm-hmm. One point that I will give it is he uses like fast-paced heartbeats to go into the first chorus, so it's more text painting. It's kind of because he's like asking this, I assume, girl, because for like a real relationship, so it's like he's nervous to ask, which I really liked.
Oh, that's interesting. You're picking up on all these things I didn't notice, Pratik.
I'm just a sucker for text painting, so I try and look for it.
Yeah, I do like that element of it. Now that you mention it, I think the song obviously does. It's rather sparse, but
yeah,
that chorus has like a really good hook. I feel, or a good vocal line.
Yeah.
I think that helps to elevate the song overall.
Yeah, it's got really good elements. I feel like it's stretched a bit long. It's a bit too sparse in some areas. And I think if it was condensed down a little bit more, it would still carry the same emotional depth, but be a little bit tighter.
Got to trim a little fat, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. We got a bit too much fat on this one. Just a little bit, not a ton, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little chubby.
If you guys are ready, we can jump to track number 14.
We can. The second single from this album,
Skipping
Stones, featuring, I'm going to say, Hane Aiko?
Janae Aiko.
Okay, that was close.
You're pretty close. Good job.
Yeah, so the only feature on the album, it's
Which
a
is
female
pretty bold
vocalist.
for a debut album and an R&B album at that.
Oh yeah.
most R&B has some type of like rapper or
A hip hop element, right?
hip hop element. So like for this to be the only feature and it to be a vocalist is pretty.
I also find it a little amusing that she's a female vocalist, and obviously they sing duet style on some of the choruses. And
She's
and
lower.
yeah, she's the lower register. He's the high register.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so maybe we'll drive down here. No,
Nope.
dude's sticking to his guns.
He went even higher, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the one I was talking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pratik.
I will say though that their vocals go very well together.
Oh yeah,
I really like it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good combination. The closest to I kind of got from this was, I'm not sure if you got this from his male vocals, Pratik, but I got some of the verses a little more Anderson Paak-y. Specifically, Do You Want to Make It Better? I think it's off Oxnard, that album. It's what I was getting. I'm like, ooh.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I was getting that. I'm like, ooh, okay. I really like that song. So that made me very much like this one as well. The appreciation pulled over. Plus, they just have some good chemistry on this one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It helps that she's got a beautiful voice.
Yeah, she's an R&B artist as well. She's decently famous. I think she came out with like a single or an album recently.
Okay. I don't think I've heard of any of her stuff, but I definitely liked her performance on here.
I did have one note. She's pretty famous. She had a bit of a meme in 2013. Have you ever heard the phrase "eat the booty like groceries"?
Yes,
I have, of course.
Is that her?
She popularized that one in 2013 on a feature.
Wow.
What a claim to fame.
That's quite the claim to fame.
Wow. I mean, I love that phrase, so I'm glad she exists.
Getting into the instrumental side of it, this is the one I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about actually, changing things up.
Mm-hmm.
It brings in saxophone, which is like
it's got trombone in there.
Yeah, it's a bit late, but I appreciate it. Like I wish it was here earlier, but at least it's here now. And then, of course, there's Glockenspiel. Would it be Audio Shop without Glockenspiel?
It's got to have some sort of Glockenspiel or marimba in there.
It's always Glockenspiel. I feel like every album we've listened to has at least one song with Glockenspiel in it, if not the whole album.
Mm-hmm.
It's a versatile instrument.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's also got a little sitar.
Oh yes, I love sitar.
They really go diverse on the song with the instrumentation.
Yeah, but that's my complaint is why bring out all the cool instruments now and not use them anywhere else? Like, sure, you want to show off during the feature, but where was any of this anywhere else in the album?
I mean, I definitely agree. It maybe would have been a better, like overall more positive if it used a little more throughout the album. But it also makes this song like stick out a lot more.
True. Yeah.
So that's kind of
good for being a single.
Which, very good for being a radio single.
Yeah, but there's no point in making everything else worse to make one thing seem better.
I think it's also because Jhené Aiko, I think, helped write the instrumentals.
Okay.
And she's a bit more seasoned than he is, so
yeah.
So she brought in those elements.
Brought in some experience.
That would make sense.
That makes sense. Well, hopefully he takes some inspiration from that. Has he released anything since then?
He recently released another album called Sweet Insomnia, like 2019.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So
have you listened to that? Is it a bit more fleshed out instrumentally?
I have not listened to it. I'm probably gonna listen to it this week.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I want to see if he's grown any. I'm interested to see what his sophomore album's like.
Yeah.
But overall, I really dig this song.
Yeah, it's a really
obviously
good
song. Their pairing goes very well together. Hanae has like a very Mikali Uchiha's like feel to her. It's a very brings a lot new to the table, and is just a good R&B tune.
It is. Jump into track number 15 if you guys are ready.
Yeah. Chandra. Yeah, this is really the last full song of the album.
Yeah.
In earnest, and it is if it's the slow sad song that ends the album. We did it, boys.
Yeah, it's I like imagine going to an amusement park and you're like, hey, let's go around and do some of these rides. And it's like, yeah, okay. And you're riding the rides. You're like, oh man, this ride was fun. Let's go on it again. Oh, okay. It was fun the second time too. Let's go on it again. Oh, okay. It was less fun that time. Let's go on it again. All right, I'm starting to get a little bit bored. Hey, let's go on that really big roller coaster over there. Oh man, that was awesome. Let's go get back on the little piddly one again. I was like, oh, okay. It just kind of rehashes everything that's been done. And after the super exciting highs of all the instrumental and stuff in the last song, it's kind of disappointing to drop back into this.
I'd say it's got more like an orchestral thing going on, right?
Yeah.
Like it used a lot more strings and things you would normally hear in an orchestra. So like, I appreciate it because it's different from what we've heard from all the other songs.
Yeah, it's definitely I mean, the only orchestral that was like really noticeable was like at the very beginning of the album. So I guess it's kind of nice that it brings it back here. I do like that orchestral breakdown at like the 2 minute and 30-second mark. It feels like one of the few moments on the album where it's like really focusing more on the instrumentation than on the vocalists.
Yeah.
Which I think it makes it stand out a little bit more. I kind of agree with you saying where I do like my albums ending on a little more energy, but I do respect and understand why some albums kind of end on like a kind of a lower, smooth note, kind of glide you out of it.
I think the biggest issue. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pratik.
No, I was just gonna say it gives me going the distance from Hercules vibes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am just a man who wants to sing about these things, but I am just alone. I don't remember the lyrics, but
that's pretty close. I think my issue with this is it's got more going on instrumentally than most other songs on this album, but putting it right after Skipping Stones, it really shows the difference between getting some help with the instrumental writing versus him writing it alone. I think maybe whatever song you put after Skipping Stones is going to seem lesser than it would alone. So maybe put one of the ones that stripped back relies less on the instrumental side, more on his vocal side. Push Skipping Stones up to 13, move something else down to 14, and then Chandra. So you get a little bit more oomph at the end, and it's not being detracted from being right after Skipping Stones.
It's had this orchestral elements. I was kind of expecting a little bit more because this one has the same producer as O Universe. He only produced two songs on this album, so I was kind of hoping to bring a little bit more of that. It's the full version of that, but it was more orchestral. But I think it's a good enough ender for the album.
Oh yeah, it's not a bad song by any measure.
Just the placement you think was not good.
Yeah, I mean, following such a strong song is going to be tough for anyone. So I think just taking one that was a bit more him without the instruments, maybe that drum track one, that would have been a good one to put after, and shift it up a little bit. I don't know.
And it's not the last song on the album. We still have one more.
Fair enough. Jump into track number 16 if you guys are ready then.
Actually, here's why. The last track is actually why you can't move Chandra, because it uses the orchestra from the previous one to this one.
I mean, it would be a little... if you went straight from Skipping Stones into last, that would be pretty jarring.
Yeah, I don't want to move the... I think Chandra and Last are a great outro of the album. I think it's just Skipping Stones is too powerful for the sad boy outro. It needs to be moved further away. It's too much of a jump in energy.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, Last, which is just the last pretty much 30 seconds of the album.
It's an outro.
Yeah, it's an extended, like, very electronic outro that ends on what sounds like a phone beeping, I think.
It gets
like someone's getting a text.
Bit too piercing there at the end.
I said it sounds like it fades to static, and then it sounds like an old TV turning off.
I thought it was like a phone, like a text buzz. Like he was getting a message or something. But it's kind of hard to tell. But,
But
I think it's.
definitely solid ending for sure.
And I mean, I guess if you're going to name your first song first, it makes sense to name your last song last. So, and who said this wasn't a concept album?
I don't think it's a concept album.
It's not. But
Jumping. What am I saying? That's the last song. So what would you guys say are your favorite and least favorite songs of this album?
I think we're all gonna pretty much have a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
The same favorite. I would say it's my favorite, Skipping Stones.
I'm at a toss up between Skipping Stones and Weight in Gold. That synth really won me over in that one. But Skipping Stones is very good.
Now I'll agree with. I mean, Weight in Gold I liked as a song, but I think Skipping Stones is the stronger of the two singles. The female vocalist is just great on that, and it feels. I think it's obvious that there's a lot more time put into that song than as opposed to a lot of the other songs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I still really like Weight in Gold. I think it's a very good song, especially since that's just him. He's getting to shine through with some of it there. Granted, it is a bit more electronic, and I'm a sucker for that, so that probably has something to do with it.
But what about least favorite? What do you guys not like on this album?
I said Episode just because, like, maybe it's fatigue coming in. And it just sounds like other songs I've heard before. So it was like, it didn't really do much for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he stays in his upper register. So it's like, I want to hear more of his lower in that song. And I think it would have been better.
Yeah. I've got kind of the same sentiment. Not necessarily on Episode. I kind of felt that on like Counting and Jupiter is kind of where I got that. Where I feel like there was some fat he could have cut off this album. Yeah. Like there's a couple songs that I don't think add as much, or like they're not bad songs or like unlistenable, but it just feels like padding at a point. I feel like he could have sliced them out or like made them like, put them in an EP or something. Like Jupiter, I feel like you can kind of tell it's his earlier stuff that it kind of added on to it. Mm-hmm. I don't think the album would have been worse for removing them.
Yeah. I'm going to have to say my least favorite was probably Bone and Tissue. Just the mouth sounds that only I could hear, which were a bit louder than previous. And I don't know. The vocal ending really ruined it for me. And I enjoyed the instrumental line in there, but there just wasn't enough there. And other songs, you could argue worse song for something else, but I don't know. Something about this one just really stuck with me as a bad song.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Well, obviously we got all these thoughts in our heads. Now we got to put them into a rating. I feel is the time for that.
So do you want to do the rating system, Tex Cooper, or do you want me to?
Pratik, do you want to take it for a spin?
No, you guys can go ahead.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'm just a guest here.
All right.
This is your show.
I'll launch into it then. So
I just want to give you an option.
Here at Audio Shop, we have a car-themed rating system. As Cooper and I, coming this summer, I think we'll have a combined 4,000 years of car workshop experience, right, Coop?
Yeah, 4,800.
Well, actually, with Pratik here, that's close to 10 million, I believe.
Yeah, no, but at the time, we were mere novices.
But reflecting on that, we chose a 1 out of 5 system using car terms. So we got cream of the crop, which is showroom, top of the line, Tesla before Elon Musk did a bunch of drugs and tweeted last night. And then
the tape is on stock.
And then we got Scrapyard, bottom of the barrel, Tesla stock after Elon Musk did a bunch of drugs and tweeted last night. Something you wouldn't even want to show anyone. Your great grandmother sees it and then she's dead the next day. So it's bad. And then we do high and low depending on how we're feeling. And a showroom one day might be a fixer upper another day. It really just depends on our feelings. So.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to go first, Pratik? What do you think of this album being the guest and the one that suggested it?
I gave it a low like new. I think it's good. It suffers. It's definitely good. It suffers a bit from fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really enjoy R&B to like this album.
I wouldn't necessarily
and
say that.
well, at least for I think the first half, it's definitely a lot more R&B than the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish to see more of his middle to lower register, since he mainly stays in his upper register for most of the album.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just show a bit more of that like lower range. And then obviously it's his debut album, so there are a couple things he can work on and improve on. So that's why I want to give it a like new.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to where you're at, Pratik. I'm gonna say it's like a high fixer upper for me, like pretty close to like new, but not quite. Um, it's the same general feelings of I feel like he could have cut some fat. It's a little overly long in places. I think he's got a good idea of where he's going with the alternative R&B. Obviously, he's got a great voice that he really likes the upper register. I'm not going to say he lacks range, but he doesn't exactly go into his lower as much as I feel like he could or has the opportunities to. And he definitely wears his influences on his sleeve with a lot of these songs, which isn't a bad thing. But I hope that whenever we listen to his next album, obviously it already came out, that he kind of forges his own identity a little bit within the alternative R&B sphere. Because it definitely has a very distinct way of presenting itself. I think he got that a little bit. He had obviously a little bit more of the electronic influences in the later half of the album. So overall, I think I enjoyed it more than I didn't. But I hope he grows more as an artist going forward, and I'm looking forward to see if he does.
I think I'm in a bit of a similar boat as Cooper. I'm going to just say, oh, that's not the right button there. I'm just going to say Fixer Upper. I enjoyed it, but it certainly isn't one to sit down and stare at a wall and listen to. Granted, there's not many albums like that. But it's definitely a good, relaxing afternoon kind of album to have on. If you like R&B, you should probably listen to it. It's pretty good. If you don't, you could listen to it. You could not. I'm not going to strongly recommend it one way or the other. But I think it's a good album. Would I listen to it again? Probably not. But it was certainly a good time while I was listening. So,
would you say there are at least some songs on this album you would listen to again?
For sure. I mean, will I seek them out to listen to? I really only listen to novelty songs, it seems, these days. So probably not. But yeah, for sure. Skipping Stones and Weight in Gold, if those were to come on, I would definitely turn them up.
Yeah, no, the singles from this album are pretty excellent.
Yeah, they're very good.
Which I guess that's going to be your face to the crowd, right? So
yeah,
I guess that's,
we've seen in the past where the singles are some of the worst songs on the album.
So luckily they're good here.
Yeah, but that was. Why don't you say it, Cooper? Let's see if you can get it right this time.
Say what that was the album. Now
No. What's the album title and what's the dude's name?
Oh, Ology by Gallant.
There you go.
Good job. You did it in the end. All right. Well, that was Ology by Gallant, and if you are not interested in hearing our listenings of the week, too bad. You got to stick around. But we will transition now over to the spare tire, which is just our little whatever we've been listening to this week. If we've been listening to anything aside from the main album. So you've been listening to anything, Pratik, other than this album?
Yeah. So another album I've been listening to is Trapline by Snotty Nose Rez Kids.
Quite the name.
Yeah, so it came out in 2019, and so Snotty Nose Rez Kids is a rap duo by two native Canadians. Okay. So I personally think that good rap, shows different perspectives. So this was like something that showed like a really different perspective and like brings you into their community and all of that stuff. And like it goes hard at some points, and then it's like it talks about kind of the current state of Native Canadians and like their relationship to mainstream media and all of that stuff.
Sounds like what were they called again?
Snotty Nose Res Kids.
Snotty Nose Res Kids. All right, I'll have to look into them. Some good old Canadian rap.
Mm-hmm.
Is it kind of a smoother R&B influence kind of rap, or kind of more?
It's more rougher, I would say.
So not Drake-esque Canadian.
No, not that.
Okay.
It goes a little harder than that.
Okay. Oh, nice. What about you, Sam?
I've actually listened to some music this week, other than the album for once.
Ooh.
I'm running out of... I caught up to everything that I wanted to watch throughout quarantine, so now I'm listening to music again. Mystery Skulls actually just released a new track. I believe it's new. It popped up on my release radar. From now, it's actually a single track. He released it May 1st, so I listened to it, I guess, the day it came out. It's called Now or Never, and it's all right. It's pretty short. It's only 2 minutes 24. Mostly chorus. It's all right. I haven't been a huge fan of his stuff ever since that other album we listened to. What was it called? Forever? Is that the album? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a case of I really like his older stuff, and his newer stuff's just So, and then I was also listening to a bit of the Over the Garden Wall soundtrack. Although the temperature swing here up into the 80s.
Not quite fall.
Not quite fall anymore. I was trying to rekindle that last little bit of fall, but I think it's time to put the track away, or put the album away, until colder weather rolls back around.
Yeah, then I've been listening through a little bit of stuff. Had some time since we didn't do last week, obviously. Got some of my backlog done. I listened to some Prince, Parade, and Love Sexy. Love Sexy may have the most sexy album cover of all time. He just looks into your soul. Let's do a little bit Beyonce with Lemonade. But the one that really stood out to me this week was I listened to an artist I haven't heard of before. Her name's Lido Pimenta, I think. Pimenta. Her album Miss Columbia was pretty excellent. It's a pretty interesting fusion of kind of like more tradition Colombian music, kind of mixed with like this electronic synth pop. She's also a Canadian artist, Pratik. So, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse in terms of what I usually listen to, but it was definitely something that piqued my interest. I'm glad I gave it a look-see. So yeah, and then of course King Gizzard and a Lizard Wizard released a new album, so I listened to that as well.
I listened to one track off of that, but
I stand them. It was a live album, so it wasn't like all new material, but still.
There was the one that popped up in my release radar was let me pull it up again so I pronounce it correctly. Click the buttons quicker. This isn't helping me pronounce it at all. Anamnesis.
Anamnesis?
Anamnesis.
Anamnesis.
But I think it's from that live.
Oh, yeah. No, it actually is from their album.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the few new songs off of there.
Yeah, that's why it popped
up.
And
like Quarantine and Evil Star.
Yeah.
But
that's why it popped up in my release. But it was. I think I listened to it. I can't remember. I don't think it stuck out to me too much since I don't remember it.
Yeah, the new tracks weren't like anything to write home about, but it was a pretty fun live album overall.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the Audio Shop podcast for today. And apparently Jonah tapped out and came back. Thanks for the support, Jonah. And Anyway, thank you for joining us, Pratik, and thank you for the recommendation. It's always nice to have a guest on, since 95% of the time it seems to be Matt.
Hey, I like Matt.
I'm not saying I don't like Matt. I'm just saying it's nice to get some fresh faces in. Anyway, thank you all for joining, and we will see you next time. Not going to say next week, because this weekend is Mother's Day, so we might have to have a conversation about that. But
we'll see you next time. Keep an eye on our Twitter account at AudioShop14, and we'll keep you updated about what we're reviewing and when we're going to review it.
And if you're just tuning in now and you like what you hear, you can head on over to our YouTube. You scroll down, you click the big old face of Jeff Lynne. That's the guy with the curly hair and the glasses. And that'll take you on over to YouTube, where all of our past broadcasts are in a nice, neat little playlist, so you can click from the beginning. Although I probably wouldn't recommend doing that, because the first couple were a bit rough. And then if you're listening right now on YouTube and you're liking what you hear, you can head on over to the Twitch, which is linked in the description down below. And then we're live 8 p.m. on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, I should say, on Sundays with our latest thing, if we're doing it that week. We've been pretty consistent, but we had to take a break last week due to finals, and Mother's Day might throw a wrench in the works, so we'll see.
A little more chaotic.
Yeah.
But hope you'll join us again next time.
Yeah. Thank you again for joining us, Pratik. And
you were a lovely guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and nice to have somebody who knew a lot about the artist as well. So, see you later, shoppies.
See ya, shoppies.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.